Are you just trying to live, laugh, or love? Or are you just trying to do all of the above? This is the podcast for you. Whether you're an aspiring comic, a headlining comic, a class clown, or just an average bro or doe looking for a good time, you, my friend, are in the right place. Welcome to the magical world of Just Trying to Podcast. Here we go. Welcome, triers, doers, and everything betweeners. This is Just Trying to Podcast with your host, Mike Tony Heath. It is a great week here in the triosphere. All right, we have a very special guest this week, all the way from the East Coast. We got an East Coast versus West Coast comedy, sharing our experiences on the coasts. And I'm real excited about having Jacob Noland on. Before we get to that, I got a little bit of a comedy update, some new dates to throw your way if you're out here in Seattle. So here's what went down this week. I'm loving life. I've had a great night this Wednesday on July 12th. You may have remembered, maybe not. It was a big day for me. I had not my first, not my second, but my third audition at Laughs Comedy Club. Third time's a charm, baby. It was a hot show. The crowd was great. I had a lot of friends come out and support the show, but it was a full room for a Wednesday night. It was a great crowd. I felt great about my set coming in to the show. I felt like it was as tight as I could get it at this level of comedy. Is like, this is the best I got. Like, this is the best 5 minutes I've thought of and written, and I'm going to do it tonight, which is what you should do at an audition, right? At a showcase show, trying to give it your best. So I did, and it went really well. I had so much fun on stage. Man, it was great. I'll probably have the video up. So this episode is coming out on Friday. I hope to have that video of my set up by Sunday. So I'd love for y'all to see that. Send some love my way on the YouTubers. And, man, just feels so good. Passing my audition is something, the first audition I had at Laughs was back in the first week of January. I signed up before we even moved for an audition. It was my 7th time doing stand-up comedy. Way too early for me to get up there and audition. It did not go very well. A second audition definitely went better, and that was back in May. I think it was May 18th. So we're about 2 months out from my second audition at Laughs, and I think I've grown a ton since then. I've been hitting it hard. I've been writing a lot more. I've been performing a little bit more. But definitely working on my writing a lot more. And I think it paid off. I think it went as well as it could, honestly. Like, I think I had the ideal conditions. I was feeling good. I went on a run right before the show. I kind of got that nervous energy out. There was a great room. There was a great lineup. I feel like there's always a great lineup at Laughs. I went up after a local comic, Swastik, and he's a very funny guy, so the crowd was like ready to laugh, at Laughs. And so I got off stage. I was feeling good, went and kissed my wife, Megan, who came to the show. Shout out to her and niece and everyone else who came. Kyle, Ronnie, Wyatt, dude, Michael Essig coming through, Evan and Grace. Like, thank you so much for coming out to that show. I really appreciate your support, and it felt nice to share that. It felt special to share that night with so many friends and my wife. Shout out to Anissa and Anissa's not my wife. Anissa's my friend, my wife's friend, who they came separately but together. Anyways, and I talked to the club owner after the show, and well, the booker actually, he came up behind me. He's like, "Hey, send me your August dates. I'll get you on a show." And I was like, "Okay, that feels good." I didn't hear the words you passed, but seems like it's going that way. So I stuck around, dude. So I talked to the club owner, and he's like, "Good job. Good job tonight. You did good, Mike." And he's like, "Hey, I want to get you up here hosting in August." And we flipped to the calendar, August 4th and 5th, the first weekend of August. And I am just like, I'm shook. I don't know. I've been doing comedy for doing it for 9 months, like straight, just trying to get better, and definitely like ramped up over that time. Like I haven't been going as hard, but it just felt really good because one of my goals was to land a paid gig at a comedy club within the first year. So like I started in October, and like by October 2023, one of my goals, in addition to performing 50 times, which I hit that goal earlier this year, was to land a paid gig. And like it technically hasn't happened yet, but like, well, actually, yeah, I did land it. Yeah. So I landed. I just haven't performed it yet, but I landed. So I'm just realizing that I achieved one of my goals of comedy this year. So what's up, dude? Feels good. And so I will be hosting August 4th and 5th. So if you're in Seattle, if you're not, buy tickets, come out, dude. My first hosting weekend at Laughs Comedy Club. I will be opening as the host for Casey Shornima. If you guys don't know Casey, they are very funny. They are a writer for Saturday Night Live, I believe, for the Weekend Update. So like that's incredible. Was at Just for Laughs, has a ton of credits, and like is so funny. And I'm super honored to be able to work with them here at Laughs, here locally, for my first hosting weekend. So excited. Gosh, the links will be in the show notes. Check it out. I'll be pushing it. I'm just so jazzed right now. I'm so amped up. I could do like 57 push-ups, without stopping. That's what I feel like right now. But just wanted to celebrate that. We're going to come into this interview with Jacob Noland, a very funny comic on the East Coast, been doing it for a little over a year, and just kind of sharing about his experience in comedy, but wanted to share mine, just celebrating. And thank you for being a part of this journey. I started this podcast just trying to live, laugh, and love. And, just trying to be a comic. I don't know where it will go, but boy, I'm enjoying the ride. I am enjoying the ride. So thank you, and enjoy this week's episode with special guest Jacob Noland. A real special week here on JTP. We have a special guest all the way in from Greenville, South Carolina. He's 25 years old. He's performed comedy for over a year. If you're on the East Coast, you've probably seen him at an open mic at the Laughing School, the New York Comedy Club, or his local club, the Greenville Comedy Zone. Everybody, give it up for Jacob Noland.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow. They're going crazy. They're going crazy.
Settle down.
Well. Welcome to the podcast, Jacob.
Thanks, man. It's nice to do a podcast with a short star from the Sandlot.
Yeah, dude, how nice.
Sorry, man.
Dude, 90s kids are getting that. These Gen Zers are like, what did he just say?
Yeah.
Some more of what? Dude, how was the weekend? Did you get up anywhere this weekend?
The weekend was great. Just had a comedy show in Asheville on Friday night, and then cried about it the rest of the weekend. So that was good. That was nice.
Was that you joking, or did it not go well, or did you bomb, or what?
It actually went well. It was very fun. That's a
okay.
crowd up there. So it was a good challenge. But no, the rest of the weekend was fun too. So I was a cool comic on Friday, and Saturday I was a bum white guy playing golf. So that's my weekend.
Nice. What'd you shoot in your round of golf?
I kind of quit keeping score on the 12th hole, so I couldn't tell you there,
I
Mike.
couldn't tell you.
But that's about how long I last.
Nice. I like it. I like it. What's your I was gonna say highest score, but I guess your low. What's your lowest score in golf? If you wouldn't mind sharing with the world.
My personal best is 76.
I feel like that's really good.
That's pretty good. Usually it's like mid 80s, like low to mid 80s. That would be like a nice solid round for me. 10, 12 over. Okay. But
nice.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you for joining us here today. We're going to start today with some comments from past episodes.
All right.
So these are comments from the listeners or the watchers, whichever way you find yourself. But this is here's some comments from episode 21. I had two of my friends who aren't comedians, but very funny people. And this is from Eli Willett. He says, yet another great episode by J Catfa. J Catfa is the acronym for my band, Jimmy Chuckles and the Fire Ants.
All right.
Just so you know.
Got
it. Eli goes on to say, and yet a great story from Sir Glotzy himself. I feel bad for how your 21st turned out, but makes a great story now. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing, Eli. Thank you for sharing your comment here. We love commenting. I'm pretty sure it helps us on the YouTube, Instagram algorithm, or Spotify, wherever you're finding this. And then Webster Parrish. Is that your real name, Webster? Have you ever met a Webster?
Is this a comment from the 1700s?
Yeah, I know, right, dude? This is the guy who wrote the first Webster's Dictionary.
Nice.
He's a
nice.
So in that episode, I did a fake promo for BetterHelp, just because I feel like BetterHelp. I'm sure it's a great service. Actually, I've never used it, but I'm pro counseling. Anyways, and then this guy said he was shaking his head. Promo SMH. So Webster did not approve of my fake promo from BetterHelp.
All right, there.
But just to clarify, Webster, I was not hating on BetterHelp. It was just a funny opportunity because BetterHelp sponsors a lot of I'd love for them to sponsor this podcast. BetterHelp, if you're listening, you can sponsor this next episode.
Yeah, I think maybe Webster was just hoping for a better host next time.
Yeah.
But I personally, BetterHelp is great. It's a good service, and they do sponsor a lot of comedy podcasts. So hit up JTP, BetterHelp.
Yeah, comedians need that mental health. So
that's for sure.
These are comments from episode 22, our most recent episode, Just Trying to Be American. Phantom Pictures, maybe that's a business name or just a username, not sure. He says, keep it up, man. Strong arm emoji. Appreciate the encouragement, Phantom. I am keeping it up.
There we go.
Keeping it up and going.
Red, white, and blue, baby.
Dude, come on, freedom. And then we have a couple special comments from Instagram clips from the episode 22. Oh, actually, I was wrong. Episode 22 was about just trying to persevere in comedy. I got that wrong. So we're still freedom, but
keep it up.
Keep it up. Okay, so Alexandra Hunter commented on this reel from episode 22 where I was talking about we talked about drinking water earlier. Well, I don't know if you know this, Jacob, but this is actually a real issue. We have been drinking too much water, and we've been using too much water where we've actually shifted the Earth's axis 30 inches.
Okay.
Because the water is staying in the ocean and not going back into the ground where the aquifers pulled it up. And I put this reel up on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and had a lot of responses. People thinking that this was like a science podcast, not a comedy podcast. I said some pretty ridiculous stuff about it, but Alexandra Hunter commented on this reel. There was so much context, but anyways, I really appreciated her or their Alexandra. You know, this is 2023.
Let's hear it.
Won't the space turtle correct the tip before we fall off? I mean, we've lasted 2,023 years on the turtle so far. I just feel like Alexandra really understands, you know, kind of science and how time works, how we're recording time. So I feel like, you know, I talked about in that reel how we're going to save the flat earthers as we take 5-gallon buckets of water from the ocean.
Sure.
We pour them back into the ground.
Right.
And that's my solution.
Yeah.
But I think Alexandra brings up a good point.
That is a solid point. I like that, Alexandra. Well, just so you know, Alexandra, I sell plastic bottles and caps. So by the end of my career, there's not going to be an ocean to get the water. Maybe don't worry about 30 inches, okay? Because it's gonna be a lot more than that. Gone.
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. That's rich. True story. Jacob does sell plastic, so trying to get those sales up, man. Let's get a little bump in those sales.
Really good for dating. But you know, I wanted a career I was passionate about, and when I was 7, I got stung by a jellyfish on the first day of my beach vacation, and I was sick the rest of the week. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to destroy everything in the ocean, and this is how I can do it. So, bring it on, Alexandra.
I love it, dude. Yeah, let's. People said we need to explore the ocean. Sure. And what's a better way to explore the depths of the ocean than to destroy it? Like, it's so hard to get down into the deep. Yeah. If we we can get down there, right? If there's no water left.
I think ocean exploration is an elitist activity, as we've recently seen with the submersive deal. So what's the best way to make the ocean discovery more accessible to the general population than to make it so shallow that all of us can just walk out there?
Dude,
I'm for everyone. Okay, so there you go. That's how
we're about equal opportunity on this podcast. So we're just trying to level the playing field here, right?
Yeah, I mean, here, I know the deal.
Oh, so good. We got 2 more comments. This actually was from episode 23, Just Trying to Be American. And this was from an Instagram reel on the first fireworks show. What are you good with those eyes right now, bro? You trying to open up?
Yeah, man. I did my eye drops. I can't get them. I'm stuck in this chair. It's fine. It's fine.
Thank you so much to Roop Deep and Promo.2323. They were both commenting that I should promote this on Dakota_community. I slid into the DMs of Dakota community, and they're not promoting it. So I don't know what's up with that, man. I'm getting mixed signals from you guys. Do you want to promote my stuff? Do you not? Let me know. Let me know.
I've never met a good person that was also named Dakota. So
I have. I actually know one.
Well,
I know one. I know one, man.
One
I just know
cool community, apparently.
That's, dude. Amen, dude. You need more than one to be a community.
That's right.
How many do you need, Jacob?
You know, I would say 17.
17. If you're at 16, you're what are you if you're at 16 to 1?
You would probably be a Republican congressman.
What?
Oh!
That's good.
Comments.
Let's hear the comments on that one, dude. Keep it spicy. Dude, as we say in the intro of every episode, we are just trying to live, laugh, and love. And we're just trying to laugh out here. Jacob You've been doing comedy for over a year now, right?
Yes.
Dude, how did you get started? I guess when did you start, and how did you get started in the game?
I started November 2020, whatever a year and a half ago was. I'm thinking that's
Okay.
2021. Let's say 2020.
Yep. Yeah.
And I had some friends that have like kind of told me, "Hey, you should try this out," And I had always kind of heard that, I was always the funny one in my family, the friend group, whatever. But I didn't even know what an open mic was. I had no idea that you could even do that in public. And
Oh, really?
in like my community, I had no idea you could do that. I just didn't know what it was. Well, my friends told me about this one place in Greenville that I could go to, and I thought I'm just going to go watch. I had just gotten out of a 5-year relationship / engagement, and so I was like, I need to start something new. And so I got home from a business trip, and I just wanted to watch. I had like some ideas typed in my phone, but no written out bits or anything. And everyone seemed really cool at the open mic, like really relaxed, laid back. It didn't really matter if you were great or not, And so I asked if I could go up last, and they're like, sure. And so I got a couple of laughs. It was okay. And that was like, oh man, you could, if you actually tried, you might could have done well. And so they said, hey, if you come back tomorrow night, there's the big open mic at the actual club downtown. So I went straight home. I wrote every single thing out that I wanted to say in my notebook.
Come on.
And the next night, they said, hey, if we have time, we'll put you up. I missed signups already.
Sure.
And I had found out something that day about my relationship that just like ripped me apart. And I was just like heartbroken. I was sick to my stomach. I almost didn't go back to work after lunch. And I was crying, because I'm a great guy. And I was like, I don't want to hear anyone be funny. I don't want to try to be funny. I don't want to go up there and throw up. Like this is not my day.
Sure.
And then like an hour before the mic, I was like, if any of your friends told you this about themselves, you would beg them to go and not allow someone else to control their decisions, right? And so I took my own advice, and I went up there, and I was dead last, and it was amazing. It was as soon as I stepped on the first step, it was just like a green light went off my head and a huge weight off my shoulders, and I was just like free for 5 minutes. And I never really had that experience before, but I was 100% present in this moment, and nothing else mattered before or after that. And it was the most electric feeling I've ever had in my entire life, And I was a part of. I played the recorder in my middle school band, so if that tells you anything, it was pretty solid. But it was just awesome. It was so much fun. And then after that, I kind of got the acceptance from the other comics, and that's really what was like, oh, you just found your community, And it was
at least 17.
It was 16 comics, and then I became the 17th one. Which
made it a community. Yeah.
I made it a community. And so it was an unbelievable experience because I had this fun thing that I could possibly be good at, and I just met this whole new community to be a part of. So that's exactly what I needed in that moment, because I kind of lost not just my partner, but kind of my friend group at the same time.
Yeah.
This was just perfect timing to get me right there, And that was a year and a half ago. So it was, yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. I mean, that was beautiful. I almost brought a tear to my eyes. I
have a tear in my pants right now because of it.
Dude, so is that that was your second time up? Because you'd done like an open mic the night before, right?
The night before, yeah.
Where was that first time at?
The first time it's at a place called the Radio Room, which is kind of like a alternative music venue. Like a smaller alternative music venue. And the next place was at the Comedy Zone in Greenville, like an actual comedy club.
Dude, how was that? Like, so your first one was at an alt room.
Right.
Second one at an actual comedy club. Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, it had a profound effect on you, but like,
yeah.
That's
it was definitely
a big jump,
Yeah, it was definitely different for sure. Yeah. And I didn't know what was funny. Because, like, here's my problem. I wanted to do it because of the challenge of, like, oh, you're funny in front of your friends, you're funny in front of your family, but that's because they know who you are. They know your story and where you're coming from. These random people have no idea where you're coming from. And so it was the idea of the challenge of that. And so the Radio Room was so funny because that's the opposite of my style, And the Comedy Zone is more like the city crowd, and that's something I would be a little bit more comfortable in because of the diversity.
Sure.
but it was definitely a big jump for sure. But yeah, man, it was a pretty wild time. It really was.
And then so that happened back to back nights, like your
Yeah.
first how long was it until you got up a third time?
Oh, the next week. Yeah. So that was a Wednesday. Comedy Zone was Thursday, and then they told me about the open mic on Monday, and so I just started going every night of the week, pretty much there. And then
So sick.
you kind of figure out which rooms you want to go to, which ones you don't want to go to, which ones you should try and maybe should stay away from. There's that, you know. But once I kind of found my home, I was able to stick there and really grow.
So you live in Greenville, right?
I live in a little suburb called Simpsonville, but it's just outside of Greenville.
Okay, just outside.
Yeah.
So, but Greenville is kind of like is that like, would you say like your home base in comedy then?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I've lived here for like 3 years. I lived in the upstate for about 8 years.
Okay.
It's definitely my home base for comedy for sure.
And you've got the Comedy Zone,
Yeah.
which has been there, I think, for a while. Like that's not like a new room. That's like
No,
an
it's not a new
established
room.
comedy. Yeah.
Definitely some good names have been rolled through there.
How big is the Greenville area?
I couldn't tell you if it's a couple 100,000 people or more. But it's smaller than like Charlotte, definitely smaller than Atlanta. But I would say it's bigger than Asheville.
How far are you from Charlotte?
We're 2 hours from Charlotte, 2 hours from Atlanta. So there's one interstate.
Oh,
there's one interstate where the exact halfway point.
that seems like a great place to be. You're kind of in between two. I mean, obviously Atlanta is much bigger than Charleston.
Right.
Dude, okay. Have you done comedy up in Charleston or Atlanta then?
No, I haven't been to Charleston. I have been to Atlanta multiple times, and that's a really fun place to do comedy for sure. A lot of really good comedians down there.
Dude, yeah. Where have you performed in A-Town? Piece up A-Town down.
Yeah, mainly just the Laughing Skull. I did the Laughing Skull 2 or 3 times, and then I got booked to do a show at kind of this new artsy fartsy place where they do improv, stand up, and sketch comedy, which I guess is improv, but it's kind of a new place. I think it's called the Diablo. We did a roast battle there, but
nice.
So I haven't really been booked on very many shows in Atlanta at all. Maybe like 2, but the Laughing Skull is kind of the main place to do an open mic there. That's like that's like the good mic. You know, there's other mics. Yeah. It's just like everywhere else.
Dude, have you heard of this podcast called Hot Breath?
Yeah. Is his name John?
Joel Byers.
Joel Byers, yeah. I've listened to a couple episodes.
He's an Atlanta comic.
Yeah, he's got a good audience. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he just dropped a dry bar special.
I think so. I do think so. Yeah. He's had really big names on there. He's interviewed Mark Normand. I mean, Lavelle Crawford. He's interviewed a lot of big names, especially through Atlanta. So
he's interviewed tons of all the comedy authors that you could think of. He's interviewed them, big comedians, but also on the podcasting front, he's done a lot. But on his his comedy, he's kind of blowing up in like the clean comedy world, I guess.
Right.
The general American probably hasn't heard of him, but he's funny.
Specials are great.
Yeah, have you seen him perform?
I've never seen him live. No.
Hey y'all, we could not do this podcast without supporters, people who every month support the podcast. What we're doing here, anywhere from 99 cents to whatever you want. This supporter's been with us for a couple months. Michael Essig here from the city of Seattle, Washington. He is our spotlight supporter this week. If you want to be spotlighted on the show in a future week, or you want to be anonymous and support the show, we're welcoming both. This could be you, And so here's a word from Michael himself.
My name is Michael. I'm a supporter from Seattle, Washington. I started listening to the podcast probably, I want to say 2-3 months ago. I just can't get enough. I love the variety of topics, the amount in depth Mike goes each week, and also the quality guests. I think it's awesome to have new faces on each week, and yeah, it's just really awesome. It's affected me in a lot of ways, and I think I love giving back. I love support for $7.50 right now. It's a taco from Taco Bell. It's a Big Mac, right? I think you all should do the same. So, yeah, thank you, Mike, for the quality productions.
Thank you, Mike. Those were moving words. We love you. We appreciate you. Let's get back to this week's show. Dude, what are I always like to hear well, do you know how many times you've performed over your year and a half?
I would say over 100.
Over 100. That's
I would
good.
say over 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say over 100 for sure.
What's the longest set you've done?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Where was that there in Greenville?
No, it was actually North Carolina at a show in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I was featuring for my friend Dougie Almeida, who's a good local comedian here.
What's his name?
Dougie Almeida.
Dougie Almeida?
Yeah. And that exactly.
Dougie.
That's how he says it.
Dougie Fresh. Dude, I like that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun guy, dude.
He's a fun guy.
What's the scene like in Greenville? Like, is it like you were saying it's kind of a community? Does it feel like a good community? Like
for the most part, yeah, they're definitely their cliques. Like, I think it's in every city. Each room has their own kind of clique where that's their room, that's their base, right? And they don't like the other rooms or whatever. And so you kind of get tired of that. But there's definitely the alternative group. There's the kind of floats around all three rooms, and then there's kind of like the black comics. Because in South Carolina we are still segregated when it comes to comedy. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, sure, I didn't know that.
It's a legal thing. Idea. I can't get around it. It's a legal thing. No,
yeah.
Okay. But no, like you have like your really good like the black comics. They have different shows, and we go to those shows. We invite them on our shows, but I mean, say there most people are kind of in the middle, right? And my little group that we've found, we just hang out with everybody. I mean, that's one thing that I do like about my group is we do hang out with everyone. So yeah, but there's definitely cliques and groups on per each room. Kind of the alt people don't like to go to the mainstream comedy club or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
So,
what's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you on stage?
On stage,
yeah,
I did a bad crowd work attempt, and it just came off horrible. And it was
yeah. Take us through it. Yeah.
I mean, there was a bigger black comic that was flirting with a bigger black audience member, and I tried to go up there and do the same thing that he was doing, and it came off really, really bad. That was my first and probably worst bomb. It was the first one, and it was at the beginning of my.
Did you do that? You did it at the top of your set.
The top of my set, yeah. And when I got off stage, the comics that talked to me said, "I can't believe you did the whole time."
Everyone's like, "He's gonna bail. He's gonna bail," but you just suffered through it, dude.
If that happened to me, I would have left immediately. But then, like the comic liked me, and so we always kind of picked on each other. He went back on stage after me and said, "Hey man, you need to work." And I was like, like he just called me, and the whole audience is like, "Yeah, he does need to work on it." I'm like, That was just so embarrassing, right? Because I mean, that's the last thing you want to do is be like an actual jerk, And that's the one thing with crowd work is like if it's not a well thought out thing, maybe don't do it. Like that's not something to work out, But that was my first and probably worst bomb. But that was just the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened on stage for sure.
Yeah,
for me.
Have you had any like really good, funny, spontaneous crowd work moments happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I really enjoy crowd work, and now that I've gotten a little bit more experience, I just kind of forced myself to try it because another thing is when I first started, I didn't have any material. I had like a minute of material, so I would just talk to the crowd or one thing that I did when I first started was I would roast the comedians that went on before me because they were like, I was just like, I got to do something, and that's what I could come up with. But like the first kind of crowd work thing that succeeded with me was like an interracial couple, and it was I've done it multiple times, and so I've kind of worked it out. But it's like where I'm from in the South, even though it's not an issue, it's still an issue, that some people are thinking about. And so, like, I would just say, hey, you guys are a great couple. How long have you been dating? And the girl will say, oh, I've been dating 6 months, whatever. And I'll just kind of say, okay, has your family started talking to you again yet? And that gets a good laugh. But the funniest part about it is, the funny part is, the audience can't laugh until the black guy starts laughing.
Yeah, it's like the permit,
right? And that's one reason why I like that bit, is because the black, if it's not funny, it's racist if he doesn't laugh, but if he laughs,
Sure.
It's okay to laugh. And so I turned that into a bit where I turned on myself, and I'm like, hey, listen, I know girls that have traded 4 years of college education for 4 more inches of, and it's worth it every time, right?
Yeah.
Say, I should know I've had plenty of black guys in my backseat. And that kind of gets the crowd going a little bit. And I say, I'm not gay, I'm a cop. And that really turns them all in,
Yeah.
So it's just, it's layer after layer after layer after layer from this one silly little stupid question that I did,
Sure.
So that was probably my first notable crowd work moment that succeeded, that I ended up able to do multiple times. But, yeah, I definitely really liked it.
Yeah. So have you worked that into like a bit that you don't need, to make it a crowd work bit, or do you just wait to see if there's someone in the crowd and then you deploy it?
I mainly do it when there's someone in the crowd, because I don't want it to seem like I'm talking about someone that's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Because that might come off bad. But the part where it's about the police, I'm a cop, and 4 years of college education for this, and that is something that stemmed afterwards, not the first time that I did it.
Yeah.
And so that has kind of turned into a bit as it happens, but I kind of still only do it when there's a couple in the crowd that I can address.
Yeah.
That's
funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
This is like, it's like a, hey, I would do this joke if there were a white chick and a black guy, but we're going to roll with it anyway. It's like, I may not, I haven't figured that part out yet, but
sure.
Some things I've learned, it's not worth trying to work it out.
Yeah.
Just wait for that moment to happen.
Yeah, like save it for the right room, kind of idea.
Right.
So, and you've also performed comedy. You said you've done a mic at the New York Comedy Club.
Yeah. Last August, I went to the city for the first time for my birthday, and I signed up for 2 mics there, and both of them were at the New York Comedy Club. One was a regular open mic, and one was a hot topic mic, where the audience just throws topics at you and you go with it,
Yeah.
And I had a great time at both of them. The first time I just sucked, because I just put so much pressure on myself at the open mic. Like, I'm at an actual club, Martin Norman has a show there every week. I've seen the New York Comedy Club on YouTube specials,
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed because my jokes were good, but the performance was not there. The energy wasn't there. It was completely flat. And so the whole night at my hotel room, I'm like, dude, you can't do this if you want to do this. Like, this is just an open mic. No one cares about you. No one's thinking about you. You're never going to be here again, whatever. And so the next day, I just went in there and didn't care about anything. I was like, I don't even expect to do well because it's a hot topic mic. Like, how good can they expect it to be, right?
Yeah.
And I always do this thing where I was standing the first time I went there, and I almost never do well when I stand. I had to sit down on the stool. And so
you sit on the stool.
I sat down on the stool, right? And I did the same thing at the first time I performed the Laughing Skull. I stood up the first time, sucked. Second time, sat down, did good, right? And so I went in with the attitude of like, it doesn't even matter if it goes well, it's a hot topic mic. Plus, no one cares. No one knows you or anything. So I sat down, and I was the best. I had the best set out of the hot topic mic that time.
Huh.
And it's like, dude, if you could just chill and be you, that's what's going to translate. So that was a nice little message for myself.
So what about sitting down? Does that just make you more comfortable, or
yeah?
Or what about?
I think it helps me. It helps me relax, but I think it helps the audience relax. Like, it kind of puts us in the same moment where it's like, instead of me talking to you, I'm just going to sit down and we're just going to talk together, But that was the funny thing was, the first time I went up, I was so nervous I couldn't really breathe that well. And so I sat down because I was like already tired when I got to the stage. And so,
Sorry, I
yeah,
think it's just so funny.
crazy, right?
Those 3 steps took it out of you, man.
Yeah, I mean, just walking from the back of the room to the front, and I was like, oh my God, like I cannot do the whole,
Yeah.
you know. And so the second night, I think that I was standing the whole time still, but I started sitting down on purpose, and everyone was like, "You can't sit down doing comedy. The stool's there for like a bottle of water or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, well, go." You know, it was, and it's almost always people that give you advice that are less funny than you. You know, so the funny two things. I sit down because I want to sit down, and because I feel more comfortable when I sit down. But I also sit down because it pisses people off that I sit down. You know, so
You like that troll move, dude.
it's so
I'm just doing
stupid. It's so stupid. But the second time I did it, like the first time I did really well, I crushed, absolutely crushed. There was no every 6 seconds you get a laugh, set up punchline. You know, there was none of that, and I crushed. And I'll never forget this guy that was nice. He was much farther along than I was, but he was very nice. But he didn't do well that night, right? And he came up and said, "That was amazing. I'm so glad you did well and you came back tonight. Here's like the rules of comedy." And he gave me like the 6 seconds. You have to get a laugh, set up punchline. Here's the structure of jokes. And I just thought to myself, like, why would I change what I just did when it worked? You know. And I looked at I've studied comedy so much before that. I was like, this guy doesn't do that. That lady doesn't have a punchline every 6 seconds, and she holds the audience. But I just learned that it's more of a fear thing. Like a lot of comics can't hold the audience for a amount of seconds or a minute to get to the punchline, or they can't. They're so terrified of the silence they have to have a short joke every 6 seconds. But I'm not going to write a knock joke every 6 seconds. That's just silly to me, you know.
Yeah.
And so I focused a lot more on my stage presence and my cadence versus having a punchline every 6 seconds, you know. Because I mean, I feel like a lot more people laugh at what I'm saying because it's interesting and it's funny, not just, oh, it's a joke. Like, I know when to laugh because he stopped talking. Well, that's not at all what I want to do personally. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm a huge Martin Norman fan. He has a joke. He has a punchline every 6 seconds. David Tell's on my Mount Rushmore. He has a punchline every 6 seconds. I mean, he's insane, you know. But that's personally not me. Even if I wanted to be that, it's just not me, you know. So
who else is on your Mount Rushmore of comedians?
I mean, I would say Robin Williams was always a massive lifetime influence on me as a child. I almost cry when I watch some of his stuff now because I just love him that much, and the emotion that he transfers with his facial expressions just hits me every time. So Robin Williams for me, even though he may not be like a full-time stand-up comedian, right? I was always a massive Daniel Tosh fan growing up.
Sick.
David Tell.
Tosh.0.
Yeah, Tosh.0. Love Tosh.0. But David Tell is definitely on the Mount Rushmore for me personally. No one on the planet has more punchlines and jokes per minute than David Tell in a club. I've never seen it. Dave Chappelle for me is on there. He was actually my first stand-up comedy show. Was watching Dave Chappelle in a theater in Tennessee. That was cool. That was awesome.
When was that for you?
That was October. That was December of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because of how to talk about topics like that and be able to articulate it and take you through the whole thing before getting to where he wants you to be. That's pretty spectacular to me, and that's what makes him so great to me personally. He's not the funniest person in the world, but that skill is something that I've always longed for. And it's tough to do the other two, you know. I'm a big Ron White fan. You remember him? Ever since he branched off from like the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, he did his own thing. Yeah. I really liked where he went with his career after that, and his specials, and just his timing and rhythm and stuff, and storytelling. And the last one, I guess you could throw any of the other amazing ones in there. You know, Louis C.K., Jimmy Carr, Andrew Schultz. You know, anyone else like that. But Bill Burr, I was always a massive Bill Burr fan. But yeah, it would be really hard for me to actually sit down and write a top 5 for me because I love it's like music for me. I love every type of music. It just depends on what I'm feeling or what I want to feel. It's the same thing with
Yeah.
comedians, you know.
Who's like your favorite comedian right now? Like, who are you really inspired by, or what?
I'm really inspired by Andrew Schultz.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about his comedy that's
His
inspiring you?
his whole being, as far as him being independent and growing as by himself on YouTube or Instagram, whatever. But he's not afraid to take chances on stage. But he's actually good enough to make it funny and bring it around for everyone to enjoy. Instead of just saying something shocking, he's actually skilled enough to make it humorous for the general public. You know, but he takes chances on stage. That's what I admire about Andrew Schultz. That's what inspires me. I attempt to talk. I talk about what I want to talk about, and it's not exactly middle of the road comedy or clean comedy, but it's what I want to do. And when I was a little bit nervous of like, hey, should you tone it down? Should you do this? I had a 77-year-old Jewish comedian tell me, he's like, Jacob, never tone it down. Do you seriously? And I was like, if this guy tells me not to tone it down, I'm not toning it down.
Yeah.
And so that's why Andrew Schultz really inspires me, is because he takes those chances, but he's skilled enough to back all that up and bring it all around for everyone. So he inspires me right now for sure, a ton. But as far as just other comics, I really like Joe List as well. I like his style a lot, and I like him on this podcast with Mark Norman.
Tuesday with Stories?
Tuesday Stories, just as like self-deprecate. The way he self-deprecates, as far as like more under the breath type of self-deprecating, that's what I do to myself. And I just like that he can translate that on stage, personally.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I just went to this. Here's what I'm kind of loving right now is so the first Friday of every month in Seattle, there's the I think it's called Seattle's Super Secret Comedy Show. It's a midnight comedy show over in the Fremont neighborhood of Seattle. Probably means nothing to you. Have you ever been to Seattle?
I've never been to Seattle.
Okay. Yeah. So for people listening in Seattle, it's over in Fremont. Check it out. But there was this drop-in. It was this guy named Timmy Booth. He's actually a Seattle comedian. I've heard good things about him, but I've never seen him live. And he brought up like a portable speaker with him and a loop machine. You know what a loop machine is?
Yeah.
You can record audio and it will like loop. And he did like a 15, probably 20-minute set and incorporated that loop. And it was like the most unique show I've seen in a while. I would say the most unique comedy show I've seen in at least 3 years.
That's awesome.
And man, I left there, and I'm not a night owl. And I got home at 1:30, and I literally just stayed up for 2 more hours because my brain was just like juiced up. Like it gave me like a creative energy.
For sure.
Just seeing him do that. So I love that, like that. Just kind of hear you talking about like how Andrew Schultz is inspiring you. It just took me back to watching Timmy.
Yeah. It's almost like to watch someone do it completely different than anything you could ever fathom is just amazing. But it's almost like, you know, for me as a kid, in high school when Vine was big, I became a massive Bo Burnham fan, and Bo turned into this like one of the most eclectic, unique artists of our whole generation, probably. And he's 25 or 26, whatever he is. Yeah. So he does stand up, but it's not exactly the same. It's kind of a one-man show. Like, you don't really know what it is. I mean, it's really amazing, you know, to see someone like Bo Burnham or Timmy Booth. That's kind of my example of it. But that's something really crazy to see. And like, you came up with all of this on your own. Like, you didn't even have any inspiration.
Yeah.
There was no one before you, and that's something that I can't wrap my head around. I've never wholly created a whole idea by myself.
Yeah, creativity, man. Andy Mineo, he says creativity is like a faucet.
Yeah.
And you think that you got to like lock it up. Like, I don't want to use it or I don't want to use it on like a bad idea, or like I got to just reserve this energy. But reality, you just turn that faucet and it just keeps flowing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not like a bucket. Like, you have like a limited amount. Like, you get into a groove.
Yeah. That's a good point. I was always scared that I didn't have anything to talk about as far as like personal family stuff or relationship stuff or life perspective or topical conversation. But the more I did sets, the more my brain opened up for past relationships or past childhood experiences or past like whatever it is. My brain just completely opened up, and now I, instead of just remembering memories, now I can think of those memories in a creative light, and how can I make these memories translate to other people. So it opens your brain up to a whole new possibility that you never had to really, a muscle that you never really had to work out before, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What are you? I mean, I know you're plastic about, or you're passionate. You're plastic, dude. I know you're plastic. But what kind? What number? No, just what are you passionate about besides plastic?
Well, I never said I was passionate about plastic. Okay, I'm
Okay.
passionate about destroying the ocean. That's different. Plastic is just my vehicle, Mike. I want to be specific about what's
Sure.
going on here. If you read my manifesto on Truth Social, you'll be able to feel all about it. But follow me on Rumble. Anyway,
I love the word manifesto. When people work that into a conversation, man, it's a good day.
it's a good
It's
one.
a good.
I've been trying to learn some more words lately. Also, I've been trying to learn my fruits because going on dates, I've learned I'm not well versed on my basic fruits. But that's another story.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about connecting with people that are different than me, specifically. I feel like it's very easy to. I kind of grew up in a bubble, and it's very easy to stay in that bubble the rest of your life, and that's not what I want to be in. I love my bubble. I love where I came from, but I'm saying what fulfills me is connecting with people that are different than me, of all shapes, colors, credences, everything else. Because I believe under the surface, we're all just humans, and I want to connect with humans. You know, not just people that look like me or sound like me or dress like me. But also, I'm passionate. About a year ago, I bought a motorcycle. I always wanted one, and I finally got one. And I really, really enjoy that mind clearing of riding a motorcycle.
What kind of motorcycles did you get?
I got a Yamaha because I didn't want to get a Harley because I'm trying to save money on dates. So I got an off-brand Japanese Harley.
Nice.
Which is nice. Nice, yeah. But it was my first bike. I didn't want to blow a bunch of money on one, and I was like, I'm just going to get something that I can ride, you know. But I love it. I really do love it.
You ever you ever get scared on that thing?
Only around other cars. You know, I don't really get.
Yeah.
I only get scared by myself. But I love seeing the world, feeling the world, and when you're on the motorcycle, you can smell everything. You're feeling everything. You're just perceiving every single thing. Whereas it's easy to not do that in a car. So the few trips that I've taken are just been way better than a regular road trip. You know. And so that's how I want to see. I want to take some really nice long trips on that thing for sure.
Yeah. Have you done anything like a long ride on it?
Yeah. I went to Tennessee on Memorial Day weekend and camped out 2 nights on the motorcycle, and that was awesome. I mean, and I went by myself. So by yourself, man, you got a lot of time to think and process and plan and archive and everything else. So that was a 3-day trip of just me by myself riding all day, you know. So that was really something for sure.
What motivated you to want to go off and get away by yourself?
Well, I've the whole last 2 years for me have been since being single. I'll be single in 2 years and about a month, and my whole 2 years have been: who are you? What are you? What do you want? Where are you going to be? And so the travel has been a big part of that because I've always wanted to go see the world, wanted to see the country, wanted to see it, people, and that's how I wanted to do it. So I had some friends that were out of town already. They already had plans, and I'm like, I'm not going to let this stop me from doing it myself. I'm just going to go, and it worked out perfect. It's exactly what I needed. But other than that, in April I went to Utah for the first time. I went to Salt Lake City.
Oh, cool.
For a work conference on Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday I rented a car and I road tripped until Sunday. So I drove 2,000 miles in 4 days. And by myself, I did all the national parks. I slept in my car and I hiked and I rode around the Utah and Wyoming and Idaho. And dude, I cried every single day of the trip. every
Wow.
single day because of how beautiful it was. Just like you're finally doing it. You're finally you
Yeah.
thought about this so much. You're finally doing it. And I went skydiving for the first time by myself.
Sick.
It
Where at?
was
In
awesome.
Utah
Yeah,
or back?
in Moab.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was just like
Nice.
this is what living is, folks. You know, you're smelling, you're feeling, you can feel the different air. You know, you're talking to
Yeah.
people from all around the world. I went to a hostel and hung out with people from Europe and Asia and South America, and it's like this is exactly what we're talking about. You know,
Just
and
trying to live, laugh, and love, man.
that's
That's
all I'm
all.
doing, man. That's all I'm doing. The last couple of years have kind of forced me to realize that you never know when this is going to be over. And so you better stop wasting your time. You know, well, no matter what that is, whether it's a job you hate or a house you don't like or a relationship you're stuck in, you got to make the most of this. You know,
Yeah.
I'm almost, that's what kind of drives me is it's not a approval thing or an anxiety thing. It's really just a terrifying feeling of wasting this, you know? And so I'm fascinated with the journey of making the most of my time.
Yeah. So what's your goal in that, or like where are you headed?
My current journey is figuring out if I want to move or not for comedy.
Okay.
I'm going to go to Austin in August for my birthday, as far as a long weekend, kind of like what I did with New York City last year. And I'm going with two of my best friends in comedy, and just going to go explore and see if that's something that I like. But the whole last 6 months to a year have been trying to figure out what I need to do to set myself up to be a little bit more free as far as time goes. Whether that's a different job, I love my job, but whether it's a different job or a different career path or giving up everything to try comedy for a year or two or whatever that path takes me on, it's really just been a journey of trying to plan the escape, we'll say. But with that being said, I'm very fortunate because I love where I live. I love my current job. I love where my family's at. I love everything about my life. So it's a very stable place to be, and that makes the journey almost a little bit harder because it's like, oh, you do have a lot to lose, you know.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah.
You know, so I'm very fortunate, but at the same time, you're like, how can we maximize? Like, comfort is great, but how can you maximize and reach that level of excellence? You know, as far as just life goes, not excellence in anything in particular.
Sure.
But I'm just really scared that comfort kills what you're supposed to be doing, you know, or where you're supposed to be.
Dude, Jacob out here just dropping nuggets of wisdom, man.
Whoa,
Comfort.
dude. So also slightly funny thing here as far as the background. From like 14, I think my first one was at 13 to like 16 or 17. I preached a lot. So I was raised Christian, and
okay.
I went to a Christian school, the whole thing, and I'm still Christian. But I actually got invited to preach a lot, so like different revivals and youth rallies and church and everything else. So I kind of got a little bit of a speaking background. But the funny thing is, my dad used to say, "You joke too much when you're preaching."
Oh yeah.
So now it's kind of like now I'm doing all jokes, you know. So it's just kind of funny. It's just amazing how things kind of work out, you know.
Yeah. Dude, that's funny you bring that up. So I'm actually a Christian, and I actually do preach. I'm preaching this Sunday at my local church.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
I'm preaching on Genesis 12 and 15.
Very cool.
But I definitely like sometimes I feel like I'm just kind of naturally like I'm driven by humor, so like that will like sneak out in my preaching. But we were doing something different, so we were like talking about just growing in Christ likeness through like reading the Bible and praying,
right?
It's kind of like different spiritual disciplines, and we were going off into these like discussion groups, and I was like, I won't say his name to embarrass him, but let's just call him Jeff for this story. And I was like, hey,
Jeff is probably better than his actual name.
Yeah. I was like, hey, if you want to go talk more about like praying and growing in Christ likeness, go hook up with Jeff. And I was like, well, don't go hook up with them.
Oh,
but
come on.
Dude, I was like, I just had my foot in my mouth, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Not in the Christian church, Mike. What are you
dude,
promoting?
I know. It came off so wrong. I didn't even think about it, and then everyone's face just went like, "What did he just say?"
Goodness gracious, Mike. So
But
the reason why I had to pause my screen was
yeah.
My phone was dying, and so now
Okay.
I'm at the mercy of where my outlet is in my house.
That's okay.
And my phone cord's so short.
Well, I was just gonna ask, man, is there anything that you wished I would have asked you while we're on this call here, while you're repositioning your light?
Maybe ask why I'm so sad on the inside, Mike.
Why? Yeah, why are you so sad?
Well, I'm a happy guy in general, but just the last couple of years, there's been a real, like, I told this last night. The funny thing about me was I always loved comedy so much, but I always said, man, nothing's ever happened to me. Like, how can I be funny talking about the weather or how great the world is, And 2 years ago, my younger brother committed suicide. And then 3 months after that, my fiance cheated on me. And then 2 months after that, my fiance left me. And it's like, if I can't be funny now, I don't know what's going to happen to make me humorous, Yeah. And that's also what kind of drove me to the whole, you can be gone at any point in time, and you need to be living life every single day to the fullest, right? But that did bring some slight internal sadness to me. But it's also put me on a journey of trying to re-perceive the whole world and people and religion and education and the country we live in, everything else. It's made me kind of reassess and actually be on a journey to determine how I feel about things and what I believe and what I don't believe. And so that's been a really important journey for me the last 2 years. But yeah, for the most part, I'm not a sad person really, but there's a couple, we all have a couple of things that make us a little bit sad every now and then, right?
Dude, for sure. I was just talking to a friend earlier today about, like, man, life is like a train, and we're on these train tracks, and one side is joy and one side is grief. I heard that from I believe this, like, counselor. Dude, I'm blanking on her name right now. Golly. I'll put a link in the show notes because I'll remember. Check the show notes of this episode. I'll have a link to her work. But it was like such a profound thing whenever she said it, like, because, like, to be a stable train, you have to be on both tracks. Like, it's just a reality of life.
Right.
You have to be on like balanced between joy and grief, because that's just life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
She explains it so much better, but, like, that's the general idea.
Yeah.
Check her out. Check out her work, because that's, like, true. Like, there is so many sad things in life, but there's also joy to be had. Jesus said that he came to give life and life abundantly, like this fullness of life, this fullness of joy. And that was a man also acquainted with grief, that, like, there is so much hardness in life, but there's also, like, that's why comedy is such a beautiful thing. Like, yeah, you've been through a lot, you've had heartbreak and heartache, and you're able to find the funny, or as Judy Carter says in the New Comedy Bible, turn your problems into punchlines.
Yeah.
Not in a way to, like, not deal with it, but also just to, like, man, survive, to even thrive.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Man, thanks
for.
I found
that just talking, I mean, that's what it is. Just talking and verbalizing what's going on in your life. That's really helped me out a lot, and it's helped me. Being open about that has helped me connect with a lot of people that I wouldn't have connected with otherwise. That's just the truth. So I think that obviously you kind of wear what's going on your face a little bit, but other than that, being upfront and honest in conversations, or if you see a moment where you can talk about something, I think it's important to do it.
Yeah,
because it really has fostered connections with people that I never thought I would have connected with, and it's helped me personally through my own grief with that connection. So, I really encourage people to do that.
That's good, man. I love that. Yeah, thanks, man, for hopping on. It's been good to meet you, get to know you a little bit better. I was gonna say, I'll be out in Charleston in November.
Awesome.
So if you're around, dude, we should link up there.
I would definitely do that.
maybe we try to do some comedy or we just hang out, whatever. That'd be fun.
That'd be great, man. I'd appreciate that.
Anything you want to like push or let people know, like where can people find you online? Do you have any shows coming up locally?
I don't have any shows coming up locally. My Instagram, TikTok, YouTube is Jacob Noland Comedy. And, I'm trying to get more clips to post on there all the time. But that's where you can find me if you have any. Obviously, if you just want to reach out and if you have any other questions or anything, I'd be happy to jump on there. If you want to talk through something, that'd be fine. But, yeah, Jacob Noland Comedy, Jacob Noland on Facebook. But, yeah.
All right, and I'll link all that in the show notes. So if you guys want to follow Jacob, reach out. Maybe you're a comedian over there on the East Coast. You guys can collaborate or just connect. He loves meeting people. That's what he's all about, especially those different people. So check him out, and thank you so much for hopping on to the podcast, Jacob. And as always, my friends, stay funny and stay weird.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah, dude.
Great shot.